Hello, good afternoon. I'm Erica McIlroy, and I am here with Haley Tamilia today, and we're going to be talking about her yoga practice here at Green Heiress. And I want to welcome you to our podcast that we've called Original Bliss. And let's start with Haley. So, Haley, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am from Wisconsin originally, and then I went to school in Boston to study marketing, and that's what brought me to Pittsburgh originally. I was a marketing insights consultant, consumer insights consultant especially, and for a while, that was my dream job. I worked in that industry for about, a little under a decade. And the pace of business just kept getting faster and faster. And, this often happens. You started a company doing something that you really love. And then you get bumped up to management. And then you're like, I'm not doing all the things I loved anymore. I was in marketing for a while, and I was always passionate about fitness and health and wellness, mostly fitness, I'd say. It really wasn't all that healthy and all that well for a long time because I was into bodybuilding.
Oh.
So both in my 20s, then I'd say was characterized by being as lean and as muscular as I could be, looking a certain way in a bikini and traveling the country to do consumer research for major brands.
Oh, wow.
And then between the two, I experienced severe burnout in my late 20s. I actually had to leave work. And I was having panic attacks going to the gym, unsure of how I could meet my own expectations of myself in there. And also my body was just very sick and exhausted all of the time. So I ended up leaving work at that time. So probably about 28 years old at that time. And then I had to put a pause on lifting for a while. And that's when I started to get more into, first and foremost, meditation and breathing to try to calm the nervous system. And it really needed a lot of deregulation, or rather regulation. It was very dysregulated. And then segueing into yoga and discovering a new way of living in my body, of living in the world, and connecting with people that has become something that I wanted to devote my every breath to.
Wow. That's quite an amazing journey. It sounds like you've been on, Haley. Was there one person or somebody who influenced you at the time to try yoga and meditation and helping you on your journey?
It's funny. I had a coworker who is one of the most insistent, stubborn people I've ever met. And for the 8 years we were working together, she kept saying, why don't you do yoga? And I was like, I have to lift heavy things, okay? Like, I need to get this muscle to pop there, and yoga's not going to do it for me. And it was like her words finally caught up to me when I needed them. So that's how I got into the yoga studio.
Did you tell her?
Oh, she knows. She knows. She's still in my life now. And yeah, she thinks it was inevitable. She's like, why do you think I insisted so much?
It's amazing how people come into our lives as teachers, and you don't even realize it at the time. And you yourself are a teacher. So can you tell us how you transitioned then from being a student of yoga to then being a teacher of yoga?
Yeah, so I began my journey at 1.1 Yoga Studio in Bloomfield, Pittsburgh. And right away, I thought, this might be something I want to do. I want to teach. But I told myself, you better do this for a year before you decide you're going to lead this or go into that. So I gave myself a year to practice and experience, and then I signed up for the teacher training, which is at that time was 9 months. Now it's a longer program; it's a year, which is beautiful. They take a lot of time to let the philosophy of yoga digest and to inspire a lot of self-reflection. So the practice really becomes personal, so that you can share from a place that's authentic. And it was particularly helpful for me transitioning from realizing I can't be in marketing anymore, and deciding to go into a very different field with very different income. So to have that deep self-reflection was immensely supportive.
So you had mentioned earlier that yoga has transformed your life. It's not just something that you do, go into a room, put your mat down, do some poses. This is something that's been a transformational practice for you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So yoga in the West, we often think of it as just stretching. And really, it's a great philosophy. And a big portion of that, there's an ethical portion. And that's something that really resonated with me, just living your life kindly and without taking from others, even if it's just their time, not just their time. What is more precious, right? So the ethical elements are a beautiful framework. And then half of the philosophy is really meditation, and meditation is huge for me. It was critical in helping me to regulate my nervous system and to shift from, okay, I want to meditate so I'm a little calmer, to I want to meditate because I want to connect with the world as it is, to be free from delusion, to be free from suffering, to be connected deeply with all things and all people. So meditation is, I think, my most disciplined practice. I spend about 40 minutes to 3 hours a day in meditation. And then beyond that, living wakefully, I have a practice of eating mindfully. It's a practice because for some reason in the kitchen, it's very difficult for me. But if I'm out every meal, I'll sit down. I have like a gatha that I say, and I try to eat each bite in presence, just with the food, just with the respect for where it's come from, the elements within it, the people who brought it to me, the life contained within it.
This sounds really beautiful, Haley. It sounds like you've had major transformation in your life from your former life as a bodybuilder. What would you say would be the one thing in your life that would be a benchmark for you that you would say, like, I notice that I have really changed here? Can you give us an example of a situation where you just looked at yourself and thought, wow, I have really come a long way?
That's a very interesting question as a benchmark. I think more of it has to do with how my mind simply feels on an everyday basis, where before thought was incessant, often very repetitive. My work was in ideas. So if I had an idea, I couldn't lose that idea, so it would just repeat in my head, almost like an obsessive compulsive sort of repetition of the idea until I could write it down on a notepad. And now, although when life is busy, more thoughts come. There are days when thoughts are more bountiful, and that's fine. That's good. We need to have thoughts sometimes for some things. But I'd say my existence now is one where I'm connected to my senses. And when I'm walking, I know I'm walking. I hear the birds. I feel the sidewalk below my feet. I know there's a car coming, thank goodness. I'm more here. I'm more alive in my body.
That's beautiful. And when you're doing your yoga practice, do you incorporate that into your teaching? Some of those things that you've learned in your life?
Absolutely. I think sensory awareness is one of the easiest ways for people to begin and can be a beautiful starting point even before you start to practice meditation. Just to be here. So a lot of times I'll open with having people draw their awareness to the sounds coming and going or another sense. Then as we start to move, get out some energy, then I bring in meditation. Usually, almost all of my classes have some component of meditation and breath work in them.
Have you noticed any of your students having a transformational experience through yoga in the way that you have?
I don't know if it's in the way that I have, but they have told me that they have. It's been most rewarding, I think, to see students, like my first student that I taught, and he happened to be a man in his 40s, I think. And it was during the pandemic. I was a fresh teacher. And it was basically him and me, the only people going at that point in time. But he came Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a couple of years. And then his situation changed and he had to move on. But now he's a practicing Buddhist. And I've met up with him before, and that was a big shift in his life. So those moments, or I get, cards from students or something like that. And that's really beautiful. That's the greatest thing I could possibly hope for.
So you find a sense of community in yoga in your practice?
Hugely. I think community is so important. And back in the day, I'd say was more of a turn it on extrovert when I had to be, and really didn't really like people too much. I liked a few people, and whenever I heard about how important community is for mental health, or even having a consistent meditation practice, I mean, there is certainly a withdrawal aspect, but I've come to realize that there is nothing more critical to supporting your soul than having a loving community around you. It's the most important thing there is. It's also, without the community, there's no purpose in my life. Without another human.
Have you found various communities in the Pittsburgh area that support your journey and other people that are going along the same path as you?
1.1 has been lovely. And I'm also very excited to see what comes. The yoga program here at Green Heiress is brand new, but the people that I've met have been some of the most eclectic individuals I've met in Pittsburgh. And I am really excited to have a community kind of grow here as well.
That's really exciting to me because that's so in alignment with the vision of Green Heiress, is to have a place where people can find community in what they love to do. And it sounds like that's exactly what you want to do here. And so I'm just so grateful to have you as a teacher, and your desire to be here doing that is beautiful to my ears and to my heart. So I'm thankful. Is there any kind of workshops or special events that you could see doing here at Green Heiress to help to build that community?
So I think that this organization has so many different businesses and practitioners that are like-minded insofar as we're committed to healing. And one of the things that drew me here was the rooted in sound across the hallway.
Okay.
I think they're so cool, and I've been to a few sound events there. So one thing I would love to do is some sound yoga. That would be very cool.
Okay.
But I'd also like to get to know the other practitioners, like doing yin practice with a Reiki professional. Amazing. And I think that if the community, I'd love to get to know more of the people here. And then once you have these, like a community starts from a core, right? So if we build this loving, creative core, I think that will magnetize and draw more creative spirits, more compassionate spirits.
Well, I love that you're saying that, because that is the vision of Green Heiress. It is to have this space to be a blank canvas for artists and creative people and yoga teachers and sound healers and Reiki masters and Qigong leaders to come together and to make things happen in a beautiful way together. And I see it happen organically over and over again. And it's just beautiful to watch. And we just let it flow. If people have an idea, they bring it, and I see people put it forward, and the community responds really well to that. So I'm glad that you have some of those ideas, that you want to be part of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what evolves from that. I don't know if you know this, Haley, but we are expanding our studio downstairs and making it bigger. So we're not only going to have 2 studios now instead of 1, but one's going to be significantly larger. And I think that we're going to be able to do a lot of fun workshops and special events in that space. Could be really creative. So we could do sound healing with a yoga class. We could do Reiki with a yoga class, and we would love to do that. So I really want you to know that I welcome your ideas or any of your friends' ideas. And I'm so grateful because you have referred people here to Green Heiress. You've recently brought somebody who is a dance teacher. This is the way these things work. It's word of mouth, it's community, it's referral. And I'm so excited to be able to open that here as well. So I thank you. And I appreciate your understanding of what Green Heiress is about and all that it can do to support you, as well as you supporting it. And it's fabulous. So thank you. I would like to ask you a question now. So the name of this podcast is called Original Bliss. And I would like to ask you, Haley, first of all, what that means to you and for you.
Yeah, I love this question. So original bliss reminds me of what yoga and many other ancient traditions of wisdom point to, though Zen would say cannot be described in words. The dynamic stillness that is the foundation of our being, that is unpeeled and free from the roles we play, that is free from attachment to gain, aversion to loss. And I think it's a pure conscious, a unification of self with pure consciousness, where the boundaries between who I am and who you are, even what this table is, what the rain is, dissolves. And it doesn't mean that there is no pain in that. Pain can be present. Pain is a thing, a phenomenon. But I think there's an ease and an overall freedom from suffering.
Beautiful. So interesting that you had mentioned pain, because obviously in our country and the world, people are suffering, and they're suffering in pain. Mental pain, physical pain, emotional pain. It's one of the reasons I started Green Heiress, was because of my own pain journey. And I found solace in alternative health practices. And we fight pain. We fight it. We want answers. We want it now. And what I'm hearing you say is pain is part of the experience. It's part of it. But what we don't have to have is suffering. That's really deep and profound. Can you, first of all, elaborate on that and tell me where you kind of get those ideas from?
Those ideas are from Buddhism heavily.
Okay.
And I won't claim that I've mastered this art. There are many migraines where I'm like, give me a pill. I want it to stop now. But I can give more of an emotional example of when my brother passed. Did I love him deeply? Yes. Do I love him deeply? Yes. And also I have peace. And there was plenty of pain with his passing, plenty of pain seeing my parents and his ex-wife suffer. And also the knowledge that he's transformed as opposed to totally gone, that all of the lessons he's taught me are still with me, and primarily that he's not suffering, and he was suffering a lot. And so I think with my grief journey was where I really could hold the space for the pain of losing my brother, hold the joy of knowing my brother, and feel plenty of spaciousness to support both. And that's what I think it is. It's both. It's like there's a Thich Nhat Hanh says, the garden, where when we lose something, it's almost like a tree or a beautiful plant has died in the garden. And if we sit and stare only at that plant, it's all there is. We just see the dead, we just see the sorrow, we just see the pain. But if we can broaden our focus a little bit and look at those tulips are still there. Oh, look at that moss is still there. Let me lie down in that moss. Let me take a look at this broader, beautiful garden. There's more.
It's really beautifully said. And I'm grateful that you shared your story with us. It's very personal. But there's a lot of people in a lot of pain in the world. So if they can learn some of these principles and some of these tools, that could really make the world a better place. Are you able to incorporate some of those skills, some of that practices into your teaching?
I don't typically, I haven't held a workshop on pain specifically or profess to be an expert in that area. But I think that it all starts with a fundamental desire to know yourself, a willingness to start to breathe and slow down, I think is probably the biggest thing. So I think my class is just by teaching presence, teaching awareness, hopefully inspiring curiosity for the broader experience of being human, hopefully helps to develop the interest for that work that really we all have to just kind of do ourselves to some degree.
So you had mentioned a teacher, a Buddhist teacher just now that you quoted from, that you like to read. Is that somebody that you follow?
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yes.
Yes, Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese monk and peacemaker who passed away a couple of years ago. He was of the Zen tradition, but I feel like he kind of went a little bit in a slightly different direction, where his teachings were really directed to people who had trauma. And so what I loved in some of especially the earlier parts of my journey, but I always come back to him, is that his teachings are so approachable. And so I do teach, one of his fundamental way of teaching meditation is basically how I teach meditation, which is simply a mantra: breathing in, I know I'm breathing in; breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. And I think starting with that can be the beginning of such profound change. Because when we're moving around our lives, getting caught up in everything, we walk, we don't know that we're walking. We are at our computers, we forget we have a body. We're talking to someone, but really our mind is like planning what we're going to have for dinner. We're not really present very often. And when we can connect with our breath, feeling the sensations is another avenue of our senses. It makes us immediately present in this here and now. And it can happen in a few seconds. That's what I found so inspiring, and continue to find inspiring, that we can make ourselves present in a breath.
Beautiful. So is there a word that you say too, or you just say, I'm breathing in now, I'm breathing out now?
I say the phrase. Well, I did. Now that I do different practice now. But yeah, literally for a couple years I did that one.
Do you at some point then just go like blank, or all thought and all words are disappeared, and you get to the state of nirvana that I hear about? Or what happens to you when you're doing that?
So for that one in particular, it was a practice that helped me elongate my capacity to sit. So that for a while I was sitting in like an hour and a half at a time. Now I break it up because my back hurts, but I wouldn't say at that point I was transcending to longer, higher states. My practice, but you can over time create more space and quietude by shortening the words. So you might just go in, out, and then there's more room for quietude. My practice now is inspired from Zen Mountain Monastery, where I retreat here and there. It's in the Catskills Mountains of New York. And they instructed me in breath counting, which is you breathe in at the very end of the inhale, you count 1, breathe out at the very bottom of the exhale, you count 2, and so forth up to 10. If thoughts happen, you start again.
Wow. So you're gentle with yourself.
Gentle with myself. But I'd say the difference between the two is the first mantra from Thich Nhat Hanh is helpful because for most people, they'll start meditating, myself included, in the very beginning. And if you just try to follow breath, you'll forget what you're doing. And 5 minutes, maybe you'll go on and you're like, what did I do? Was I meditating? I don't know. I was just sitting here. So on one hand, it helps reinforce what the instructions are. Mm-hmm. And 2, it gives the mind an activity with less space. And so you invest your whole energy, your whole thought into that mantra, and it keeps you present. And then as that becomes more effortless, gentle, for sure gentle, then maybe you can shorten the phrase so that there's more space, more room for the mind to play. The breath counting, I think, is a little different insofar as there's less activity in the mind, so more room for the mind to wander. To me, I felt a little bit more like it's holding a mirror and seeing what's happening in there. And over time, there's a progression of deeper and deeper states of stillness that one can move in and out of. But the reality of meditation is like, man, it's a thousands and thousands of hours practice, wow. One of a lifetime, you know. I don't think it's a quick journey mm-hmm. in most instances.
Do you get excited to meditate?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time to ask somebody to sit down for an hour and a half and just go in, out, in, out. That's a big deal for people, especially people in the Western cultures who are always running around looking at their phones. They can't be bored for even a minute. That's a huge task. What would you say to somebody who wanted to start a meditation practice?
Yeah, I'd say start with breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. And do that for like 3 minutes.
Okay.
And if 3 minutes sounds like that's going to be unbearable, then maybe do it when you're getting in and out of your car just for 3 breaths, or when you go to the bathroom for 3 breaths, just taking moments to do it. But I think it'd be better to start with I started literally with 3 minutes for a long time.
Wow. And look where you are now.
Yeah.
If you could, what would you say to your younger self, your bodybuilding self, with the knowledge and wisdom that you have today?
Oh, gosh. Part of me wonders if whatever I said, I would listen.
Of course, right?
So
what do you think would be one thing maybe that your younger self might grab onto? Or should I say not grab onto?
Yeah. You are loved.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. That's beautiful, because I feel like a lot of people don't remember that. So thank you for that. And my final question to you, Haley, is what do you see yourself doing over the next year, both maybe here at Green Heiress or something that you personally want, a personal goal? What do you see for yourself coming up in the near future?
So I love to play singing bowls in my class. And I am wanting to become more and more involved and rooted in sound and try to bring more and more music into my classes. I am such a novice musician, but I love how simple, and I think singing bowls are a way that someone who can deeply get to a deeper level of consciousness. And that's why I love ending my class with them.
That is so wonderful. And I'm so happy that you're doing that here, and we would welcome that. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try your class, Haley.
Love that, Erica. And I want to know so much more about your personal journey, too. That's a question that I've had for a while now. So I'm really excited that I got to actually be with you today.
Aw, thank you. Well, maybe one day you'll interview me.
That would be great. Yes, that's recorded now. So
thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. It was an extremely informative conversation. I learned a lot, and I might try that 3-minute thing. But thank you. I really appreciate you and your beautiful presence here at Green Heiress.
Thank you so much, Erica. It was a pleasure to be here today and to continue to be here. Wednesdays,
okay, yes.
9:15.
Wednesdays at 9:15?
Yep, Wednesdays 9:15 and 10:15 is our current yoga flow. It's a gentle all levels flow. So
we love it. We hope you'll join us.
Yes.
Thank you.